I mean, he told me that, I was a steroid abuser, and then he said I had a pencil male genitalia. Hey there, Coach Devin here. So, something kind of keyed me up today, and I thought I'd talk about it a little bit. One thing that amazes me is just how triggered everybody is by everything all of a sudden. And I'm a little confused by it, to be quite honest. I find it a little weird. It seems like we're somehow proud and excited about being triggered. I mean, people actually say, I'm triggered by that. I had a staff member one time, and I sent out a group text, and they told me they were triggered by my text. And I'm like, but I'm just asking you guys to do stuff and, not do something else. It was just nothing serious, but I was like, and this is about 3 years ago. And when he said he was triggered by it, I'm like, but that means that you're not doing the thing I'm asking you to do. I'm saying, please don't do this, and you're doing it, and then you're annoyed at me and you're triggered because I told you not to do it. It's confusing. Anyway, I've been thinking a lot about this recently, and what I find confusing about the whole triggered and angry about everything and ranting on social media about stuff, I just don't get what the point is. I mean, why are we all so pissed off? Why are we all so riled up and we're triggered by this and triggered by that? I don't think being triggered is a good thing. I think being triggered is probably something bad. I don't personally want to be triggered by anything, what amazes me is we're just all so outraged all the time. And what's funny about that, people use the term like outrageous and shameful. They use that all the time, but let's be honest, there's not that many things that are outrageous. If it's outrageous, it's a big deal. Like a super, super big deal if it's outrageous. And if it's shameful, again, that's a pretty big deal. Like, if I said something was, I felt shame for something, that's serious. As far as I'm concerned, I feel like that's a big deal. So, it just strikes me as I'm a little confused why it is that we are all triggered, angry, upset, and proud somehow of being triggered. This triggers me, that triggers me. I actually saw a fitness video the other day, and he actually had some trigger warnings at the beginning. One of them being, you may be triggered because I eat carbohydrates. He was talking about what he eats. I eat carbohydrates, and you may be triggered by the fact that I eat carbohydrates. And I was like, okay, so you're so upset at the thought of someone eating carbohydrates, you will be angry and rant and rave about someone eating carbohydrates? Do you understand anything about carbohydrates? It seems like something that is not worth being upset, angry, or triggered over. He also had a thing in there. He's like, I also eat meat, and some of you might be triggered by the fact that I eat meat. I'm like, look, if you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan, good on you. I would never be triggered by someone being vegetarian or vegan. I mean, if you want to do it, do it. But the fact that someone else would be triggered and angry and raging over the fact that I eat meat or don't, you gotta have something better to do with your life. That's my thought. Like, you have to have something better to do with your life, which just led me to this thought today. I'm like, why are we all so ragey? Why are we online and ranting and raging and claiming I'm triggered over this or triggered over that? I'm saying the word triggered an awful lot. And to me, I think social media is a big piece of this. And I'm a proponent of social media. I think it works and it's great. And the whole point of social media is that we keep in contact with people, but social media doesn't seem to be keeping people in contact. It seems to be making people rage and rant and yell and holler. I got to tell you, it's been a long time since I saw something on social media that made me that angry that I had to have something to say about it. Like, I feel like we all need to take a step back and take a breath. For lack of a better term, we need to take a breath and realize that it's not worth this. Like, if you're being triggered that easily by something that somebody says online, I say to my kids all the time, like, look, if JB1234 has something negative to say about you, who cares? Do you know who JB is? No? Well, who gives a damn? Now, I remember there was a guy on Twitter a little bit ago, and we had an MLA that had a whole rant about, basically, how dare small businesses, who are you to to complain about big box stores being open, and she basically said, I'm going to go to Walmart and buy the most stupid thing I can think of. Ha ha ha. Grow up small businesses. And you know what? A lot of people were super triggered by that. And I don't know if I was triggered, but I was like, that's a dick thing to say. Why are you being an ass? Anyway, I made some comments on her Twitter feed, which she had tweeted this. Just saying, don't be an ass. And this guy came on there and he wanted to defend her, and he was ranting and raving, and his whole thing was basically, he's like, she's a better person than you. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know me. How would you know if I'm better or not? And he went on this whole rip. I mean, he was triggered, let me tell you, because he told me that, I was a steroid abuser, and then he said I had a pencil male genitalia. and I was like, there's nothing you can say that's actually going to upset me, because I don't know you. I don't care what you have to say or don't have to say. You have absolutely no power in any way, shape, or form over me, because you're just some dude on Twitter who's shooting his mouth off. So big deal. And then he threatened to beat me up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, dude, get a life. Find something else to do with your time. And he was just, it was one long rant after another long rant. And it just surprises me that people have the time and the energy to do this stuff. Like, find a hobby, do something more positive with your life. I really think this infatuation with being triggered, how you're triggered, and what you're doing while being triggered is a waste of time and energy. I really think it is, because there's a lot more good things in life than there's bad things in life. Like, sometimes I make YouTube videos and people will say, you're an idiot, and they rip me, and I'm like, I don't care. So every now and then it'll upset you, I guess. It could upset me if somebody was being really rude and I knew them. But for the most part, you don't know them. And even if you do know them, everybody has different opinions. The one thing about life the one thing I do know is that I don't know everything. I know a fair amount about fitness, but I don't know everything about fitness. And somebody may disagree with me and have some things to say about it. But you know what? In the end of the day, who cares? Like, are you going to care about it next week or in 3 hours? If you're not, it's time to move on. People who rage and rant and angry on social media, and it's just not worth it, guys. Like, find something else to do. If you're triggered, you might want to look into therapy. That's my thought. That's my 2 cents. If you're triggered that easily by something somebody says, it's just not worth it. It really, really isn't. Find another thing to do. And we've all been pissed off by dumb stuff. But you know what? I'm trying to do better with not being upset over small things. I work really hard at it. And I think we all need to start doing that more. What do you guys do to keep yourself from getting triggered online? If you do, write them up down below. I'd like to hear from you. Have yourself an amazing day, everybody. Don't fight the awesome.